Radio.com program are those of the guests and hosts and do not necessarily reflect those of the staff and management of CannabisRadio.com. Any rebroadcast or redistribution without proper consent of CannabisRadio.com is prohibited.
Maui Wowie, Acapulco Gold, California Kush. Our strains stretch everywhere too.
This is the Cannabis Radio Network.
BBC News with Julie Candler. More countries have joined Britain in restricting travel to the Egyptian resort of Sharm el-Sheikh after a Russian passenger plane came down on Saturday, killing all those on board. France and Belgium have advised against all but essential visits, while Dutch and German airlines have suspended flights. Britain says the plane was probably brought down by a bomb, but Moscow has advised caution. The charity Médecins Sans Frontières says its staff saw people being shot from the air as they tried to flee a hospital in Afghanistan that was hit by US airstrikes a month ago. Washington said it was working closely with MSF to conclude its investigation. Figures released by the EU reveal that officials are assuming that up to 3 million migrants may arrive by the end of 2017. In a separate report, the UN Refugee Agency said it expected people to continue arriving in Greece from Turkey at a rate of 5,000 a day. Doctors in Britain have for the first time used a pioneering form of gene therapy to cure a previously irreversible cancer. They tweaked the DNA inside a donor's immune cells to create for the patient a system that can hunt and kill the leukemia cells. An official at the International Watchdog on Chemical Weapons has confirmed that rebel groups in Syria have used mustard gas. The full report is confidential, but the comments are the first official confirmation that mustard gas is being used in Syria. Israel's Prime Minister has described comments by his newly appointed spokesman criticising US leaders as totally unacceptable. Ran Baratz had accused Mr. Obama of anti-Semitism and described the US Secretary of State John Kerry as having a mental age that was no more than 12. And campaign advertisements for the Republican Party presidential contender Donald Trump are running for the first time on radio stations in 3 American states. BBC News.
Great websites today need expert web design and development and need to be e-commerce ready and mobile friendly. But building a marketable and profitable website can be an uphill climb. Ready to make your new website or replace your existing website? Think Orange as the new way to get in the black. Orange Hill Development works with Fortune 500 companies and offer the same top quality development service at a fraction of what other providers charge. Brands like Absolute, Carlsberg, and Nestea trust Orange Hill Development. Find out why you should trust your website with Orange Hill. Contact Orange Hill for a consultation today at orangehilldevelopment.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Rebecca Foster. British Prime Minister David Cameron has defended the suspension of UK flights in and out of Sharm el-Sheikh after talks in London with Egypt's president. Mr. Cameron and President Fattah al-Sisi discussed security at the airport in Sharm el-Sheikh after the UK claimed a bomb may have brought down a flight on its way to Russia over the weekend. UK correspondent Ollie Barrett reports.
David Cameron says the suspension of flights ordered by his government is vital and warned it may be some time before some British tourists can get home. He says it's increasingly likely a terrorist bomb caused the crash of a Russian passenger plane on Saturday with 224 on board. President Sisi, after talks at Downing Street, expressed complete understanding of the British position, but also insisted security at Egyptian airports was tightened 10 months ago at London's request and found to be good enough. Russia's described Britain's suggestions of a bomb on board the crashed jet as speculation. British Airlines say they'll start operating rescue flights from Sharm el-Sheikh on Friday for stranded UK tourists. Ollie Barrett, London.
The European Union says it expects some 3 million refugees and migrants to arrive in Europe by 2017. The predictions are continually being raised as the EU sees huge flows of people seeking sanctuary from war and conflict in countries like Syria, Iraq, and across sub-Saharan Africa. Our Europe correspondent Jack Perrock has more.
The European Commission says the 3 million people set to arrive in the EU would increase the 28-member bloc's population by around 0.4%. The UN says 5,000 people per day will continue to cross the sea from Turkey into Greece, even as the winter months set in, making the journey more treacherous. despite the EU's Finance Commissioner Pierre Moscovici saying the influx could provide a boost to EU economies. Many are concerned about the social and cultural ramifications of such large arrivals.
The U.S. Congress is starting months of debate over whether to endorse the recently agreed-upon Trans-Pacific Partnership. The deal, which includes 12 countries accounting for 40% of the global economy, needs to be ratified by American lawmakers. Here's our U.S. correspondent Nick Harper.
The agreement last month made history, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, or TPP, becoming the largest regional trade agreement of all time. It aims to bring an end to trade barriers between 12 Pacific Rim nations. The White House argues it will boost the U.S. economy. But with the release of the final details, Congress must now digest and debate the deal before voting on it in the spring. Among the newly released details is the fact Vietnam's government has agreed to American proposals, which could see reforms to the Asian country's working conditions and labor rights.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN. Former U.S. President George Herbert Walker Bush is accusing some senior Republican figures of betraying the White House during the presidency of his son, George W. Bush. In a new biography, the first President Bush is witheringly critical of former Vice President Dick Cheney and former Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld. From Washington, Simon Marks reports.
For years, the first President Bush has offered little commentary on his son's presidency. Now he's told a biographer that former Vice President Dick Cheney became very hardline and built his own empire during George W. Bush's presidency. Donald Rumsfeld is described as arrogant, displaying swagger and a lack of humility. The claims are being published just as the president's other son, Jeb, is trying to win the Republican Party's nomination, a task the book may only complicate. Simon Marks, Washington.
And the gender wage gap exists in all sectors of work in the United States, according to a new study by PayScale, Inc. The data shows that married men earn the highest salaries and single mothers earn the lowest. Mary McCarthy has that story.
The new study shows that fathers in the U.S. earn the highest overall median salaries, over $67,000 annually. Married mothers make a median salary of $20,000 less than that, and single mothers lag significantly behind at $38,000. The trajectory of salaries is also significantly different for men and women. Men's salaries generally increase until past the age of 50, whereas women's salaries tend to plateau by the age of 40. Interestingly, education does not help alleviate the gender.
This is the USA Radio Business Report. I'm Russ Jones. Want someone or something to respond to an email for you? Well, correspondent Larry Olson reports Google has a new bot response for that.
The feature coming to Gmail's Inbox email app will automatically suggest 3 short replies for incoming messages based on the context of the message. It works by scanning the incoming emails, then using machine learning to formulate a natural language reply. Google says the more you use the feature, the better its suggestions will become. I'm Larry Olson.
Computer games company Activision Blizzard is set to buy the company that created Candy Crush. It's a deal worth almost $6 billion. Activision says the purchase of King Digital Entertainment will make it a global leader in interactive entertainment across multiple platforms. Powered by westernjournalism.com, this is the USA Radio Business Report. I'm Russ Jones.
Hi, I'm Montel Williams. Most of you know me as a talk show host, but I'm also an author, actor, single father of 4, avid snowboarder, and I'm also a medical marijuana patient. Living with multiple sclerosis, I'm in pain every day. Medical marijuana is my last resort, and it helps me when all other drugs have failed. If you'd like more information about medical marijuana, you can contact the Marijuana Policy Project at mpp.org or call 1-877-JOIN-MPP.